Have you ever finished a romance anime and thought, wait, what happens next? You spend the whole series rooting for the characters to finally confess their feelings. Then it happens. A kiss, a confession, and your heart soars, only for the credits to roll. That's it, the story ends. This is what I call the worst trope in all of romance. The story cuts off right when things could get truly interesting. Sure, the build-up is satisfying, the slow burn tension, the emotional confessions. But why do so many shows shy away from exploring what comes next? I covered over a dozen romance anime on my channel, and they are some of the highest rated shows I ever watched. But even with all the excitement and payoff, there's this lingering emptiness that keeps hitting me. Because these stories stop right at the peak and never show us what's beyond. So today, I'm breaking down why this trope feels so hollow, calling out the biggest offenders, and celebrating the rare gems that dare to go beyond. Romance anime often treat the getting together moment as the finish line. Everything leads up to the confession, the misunderstandings, the near confessions, the hand-holding, and once the characters finally admit their feelings, the story ends. But that's not how relationships work. In real life, the confession is just the beginning. Love isn't just about getting together, it's about growing together. It's like being handed a cake and only getting to eat the frosting. Sweet, sure, but the best part is missing. That richness, that depth of what happens next, is where the real magic of romance happens. And yet so many stories skip over it entirely. By focusing only on the chase and confession, these stories miss out on what makes love truly compelling. Romance isn't just about falling in love, it's about staying in love. Probably the most popular offender of this is Toradora. The anime spends most of its time following Taiga and Ryuji as they help each other with their respective crushes, only to slowly realize their feelings for each other. It's a beautiful build-up, but then they confess, they get together, and it's over. What's their dynamic like as a couple? How do they support each other through life? We don't know because the story ends before we can see it. And even though I binged Toradora in 2 days and rated it highly, I still couldn't shake the feeling of emptiness afterward. The story ended at a logical point, but not a satisfying one. At least, not for me. And the thing is, Toradora isn't the only one. This trope is everywhere in romance, and while I only really talk about anime, it's not an anime-specific problem. Though I won't touch on it because I'm not as familiar with romance stories in movies or books, this issue exists outside of anime just as much. The most annoying example for me is Oregairu. Across 3 seasons, we watch a love triangle slowly unfold. We see the characters being antagonistic with each other more than actually romantic. But in the final season, Hachiman and Yukino finally chose each other. They even go on a date and it feels like they are starting something real. But that's all we get, a glimpse. We don't know if it lasts or what challenges they face as a couple. It feels satisfying at the moment, but it's incomplete. This is why the trope feels so frustrating. Skipping the actual relationship reduces love to a single goal: get the other person to like you back. But relationships are so much more than that. The real emotional depth comes from seeing how couples navigate jealousy, misunderstandings, or even mundane moments. These are the parts of romance that make it feel real, relatable, and human. And when a story dares to explore that, it becomes something much more memorable. But not all romance anime fall into this trap. Some take the risk of showing us what happens after, and that's what makes them unforgettable. Take Horimiya for example. Unlike most romance anime, Horimiya doesn't waste time with field day, one day. The characters get together within the first few episodes, and the focus shifts to their relationship. We see how they grow together, tackling insecurities, misunderstandings, and the little moments that make love feel real. Watching their dynamic evolve feels refreshing because it's not just about falling in love, it's about how love transforms both people over time. And then there's Clannad. This anime doesn't stop at a confession. It takes us to dating, marriage, and even parenthood. We see the highs, the lows, and its sacrifices that come with building a life together. It's raw and emotional, but that's what makes it so powerful. As I said before, it's not just about falling in love, it's about staying in love. I love Toradora and Oregairu. As I said before, I rated them super highly because I really enjoyed them. But honestly, they didn't stay with me. I don't think about them anymore, they are not memorable. But Clannad, that's my second favorite anime of all time, and I still think about it to this day. Even though I watched it so long ago, it left an impact on me in a way most romance stories just don't. And I'm not alone in feeling that way. That's what makes it special. It dares to go beyond where other shows stop and gives us a complete, unforgettable story. That's the difference. The anime that breaks this trope reminds us that love isn't just about reaching the peak. It's about everything that comes after. So why do so many romance anime stop short? Maybe it's easier to write the excitement of a confession than the complexity of a relationship. But the anime that go beyond the trope, the one that explore love as a journey, leaves us with something far more lasting. It's frustrating because we care so much about these characters, only to be left imagining the most interesting part of their story ourselves. The truth is, it doesn't have to be this way. Shows like Horimiya and Clannad prove that the best stories are the ones that don't stop at love, they dive into it. And hey, if this video made you think, don't forget to like and subscribe, and stick around for more anime videos where I yap about random stuff I loved or found annoying. What trope do you think is the worst, or do you love the chase more than the payoff? Let's talk about it in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I see you next time.